Hi, I welcome you all to this knowledge gaining session on the bending of beams. And taking you along on this journey is Dr. Yunus Jerusha, an assistant professor of physics. First, let us see what is meant by a beam. A beam is a rod or bar of uniform cross section, circular or rectangular, but whose length is much greater than its other dimensions such as the breadth and thickness. There are some basic assumptions which are involved in the simple theory of the bending of beams, such as beam is made up of homogeneous, isotropic and elastic material and obeys the Hooke's law. Beams which are involved are initially straight and unstressed. The cross section of the beam remains unaltered and the shearing stress over any section is negligibly small. The weight of the beam is considered to be extremely low. Some more assumptions. The radius of curvature of the bent beam must be greater than the thickness. Young's modulus of the beam should remain constant under compression and tension. Every layer of the material of the beam must be free to expand or contract laterally or longitudinally, and the deformations due to the shear force are neglected. Some of the applications of beams are: it is used in the construction of bridges to support heavy vehicles passing over them, and it acts as a horizontal support for the roof of many types of buildings. When does a beam bend? A beam bends when it is subjected to two equal but opposite torques at the two ends. A part of the beam undergoes elongation and becomes convex, whereas the other part undergoes compression and becomes concave. When the beam is bent, a bending moment is created in the beam. Let us see what is meant by a bending moment. First of all, it is a reaction induced in a structural element when an external force or moment is applied to the element, causing the element to bend. Also, it is the sum of the moments about that section of all external forces acting to one side of that section. It can also be defined as the forces and moments on either side of the section must be equal in order to counteract each other and maintain a state of equilibrium, so that the same bending moment will result from summing the moments regardless of which side the section is selected. A look at the bending moment sign convention, which is almost universally agreed. Sagging and hogging moments are produced by a combination of clockwise and anti-clockwise moments. A sagging moment is caused by the resultant moment on the left hand side being clockwise. Here is the clockwise bending moment, whereas the resultant moment on the right hand side of the section is anti-clockwise. A hogging moment is negative and is caused by the resultant moment on the left hand side of the section being anti-clockwise and the resultant moment on the right hand side being clockwise. We can easily see that in the case of the sagging or positive bending moment, the beam will be bent with a curvature having concavity at the top. We can also see that in the case of a negative bending moment, the hogging moment, the beam is bent with a convexity at the top. To summarize, sagging bending moment has a positive sign and the hogging bending moment has a negative sign. Concavity downwards or concavity at the top, which is cup shape, leads to fibers at the top being compressed while the bottom fibers are tensed. Similarly, convexity upwards or convexity at the top, having a hump-shaped picture, leads to the upper fibers being tensed while the bottom fibers undergo a compression. Also, another point to be remembered here is what is called as the point of zero bending moment within a beam. It has different names called as a point of contraflexure, point of inflection, point of transition from hogging to sagging, or vice versa. This point here is the point of zero bending moment or the point of inflection or the point of contraflexure. What it actually means is when the resultant moment changes from the clockwise direction to the anti-clockwise direction, or when the bending moment changes from the anti-clockwise direction to the clockwise direction, it always changes at a point. This point which is marked in red. And this point is the point of zero bending moment or the point of inflection. The two pictures shown here are examples of a sagging beam where we have compression taking place in the upper layer and tension taking place in the lower layer. Similarly here, there is compression here and tension at the lower layer. These two pictures here are an example for the hogging moment. The first picture shown here is a hogging beam where there is tension in the upper layer and compression in the lower layer. Hogging and sagging also takes place in ships. This is an example of hogging occurring in a ship. The upper layers in the ship undergo a tension, whereas the base layer of the ship undergoes a compression. Let us consider a beam of uniform rectangular cross section. A beam may be assumed to consist of a number of parallel longitudinal metallic fibers placed one over the other called as filaments. These layers of filaments in a beam can be thought of to be just like this vibrant multi-layered cake. Let the beam be subjected to a deforming force at the center. Therefore, the beam is bent at the center. We know that a beam consists of many filaments. Let us consider a filament at the center of the beam. The layers above the beam undergo a compression and therefore their filaments or fibers are shorter in length. The layers which are present below the central filament undergo an elongation and therefore these fibers are longer in length. The filament which is present at the center and remains mostly unaltered is called as the neutral filament. It is shown by this dotted line. Similarly, we have a neutral axis, and the neutral axis is the axis which passes through this filament. A point to be noted here is that any deformation on the filament is always measured with reference to the neutral axis. Let us consider a beam under the action of deforming forces. The beam bends into a circular arc as shown in the figure. Let CD be the neutral axis of the beam. Here, the filaments above CD, for example here AB is elongated, and the filaments below CD, for example as shown in the figure EF, is compressed. The filament CD alone remains unaltered, and therefore CD is called as the neutral filament. CD is the arc which is along the neutral axis. Therefore, R is the radius of curvature of the neutral axis, and phi is the angle subtended by the curve CD at the center of curvature O. The original length of the neutral axis CD is given by R phi. This is obtained by using the formula arc length is equal to the product of the radial length into the angle subtended by the arc. The length of the filament AB is given by R plus small r into phi. The linear strain at the neutral filament CD is the ratio of the change in length to the original length. This we represent as equation 1. To find the change in length, we subtract CD from AB, and we have the substitution of AB and CD in equation 1, and we obtain the linear strain. The linear strain is finally found to be R by capital R. This we represent by equation 2. It is observed that the strain is directly proportional to the distance small r from the neutral filament. By definition, the Young's modulus for the material of a beam is given by the ratio of the linear stress to the linear strain. Rearranging, we obtain the linear stress to be Y into linear strain. We now substitute equation 2 which we obtained in the earlier slide for that of the linear strain, and we have the linear stress to be therefore Y into R by R. This we term as equation 3. We assume A to be the area of cross section of the beam and F to be the force which is applied on the area A. We need to obtain an expression for the force. This we obtain from the formula for linear stress. Stress, again, as we all know, is the ratio between the restoring force and the area on which the external force is applied. Therefore, force is equal to linear stress into the area small a. We now substitute the formula for linear stress which we obtained in equation 3, and we have the force to be equal to therefore Y into R by R into small a. The moment of the force, again we know, is the product of the force into the perpendicular distance. We now substitute this equation 4 in equation 5, and we get the moment of the force about CD is given by YR by RA into small r, where small r stands for the perpendicular distance, A stands for the area of cross section, capital R being the radius of curvature, and Y the Young's modulus of the material of the beam. The moment of the force acting on the upper and lower halves of the beam is the same, and from which we therefore find the total moment of the force to be equal to Y by R into sigma AR square. Sigma AR square is now substituted with Ig, and therefore the total moment of the force is given by Y by R into Ig, where sigma AR square is equal to Ig, and IG is equal to AK square, where capital A stands for the total area of cross section of the beam and capital K stands for the radius of gyration. And as per definition, the sum of moments or the forces acting on all the layers of the beam is nothing but the internal bending moment of the beam. Therefore, the moment of the force is given by Y by R Ig, or in other words, the bending moment of the beam is given by Y by R Ig. Let us look at two special cases where we are going to find the bending moment for a circular beam as well as for a rectangular beam. For a circular beam, the geometrical moment of inertia Ig is given by pi r power 4 by 4, where r is the radius of the circular beam. Substituting this equation called as 10 in equation 9, the general formula for the bending moment of a beam, we obtain the bending moment for that of a circular beam to be y pi r power 4 divided by 4r. This we call as equation 11. Now for a rectangular beam, the geometrical moment of inertia Ig is given as BD cube by 12, where B stands for the breadth of the rectangular beam and D stands for the thickness of the rectangular beam. Similarly, substituting this equation 12 in equation 9, which we have seen in the previous slide, we obtain the bending moment for this rectangular beam to be y BD cube divided by 12r, and we represent this as equation 13. To summarize, we have seen what a beam is, why a beam undergoes bending. We found out what is called as the bending moment of the beam, the various sign conventions used, and we finally obtained the bending moment expressions for that of a circular as well as for a rectangular beam. Thank you for your patient listening.